What do you think of when you think of the word M&Ms? I think of the chocolate delicacy with a nice sugar crisp shell. I think of a collection of brightly colored candies with so many flavors that innovate upon the original, unless you're a fucking weirdo that ate the Mexican jalapeno ones. But what does M&Ms think of when they hear M&Ms? That's right, golf. It's no secret that once a brand's product does well enough, they'll try to capitalize on it by doing a bunch of random stupid bullshit, until the company becomes a shadow of its former self. A good example of this practice would be McDonald's. Why have just burgers when you can create a whole line of colorful, appealing characters specifically so you can insert your hands into toys, games, cartoons, and of course, vacuum cleaners? There's no reason to stay in your lane. This is modern capitalism. Why make a bunch of candies when you can give them names and faces and have Danny DeVito play them? And so, like any good brand looking to extend its reach into the public's general vicinity, M&M's wasn't slow to follow, making toys, shirts, and of course, video games. Now, brands have never been shy of creating video game tie-ins. McDonald's made a fair few. There's the infamous Burger King games, which I have a video about with like 8 views, but it's really bad, don't watch it. There was a Skittles game, Captain Crunch game, Pepsi Man, 7-Up had Spot, but I'd say the worst offender is M&M's.
With 10 games spanning across 10 years, M&M surprisingly has one of the bigger advertisement game franchises. You would have to be insane to play all the M&M games. I played all the M&M games.
Usually for a video like this, I would put some sort of limit on myself, but no. This time, I'm really doing all 10 video games. PC, Game Boy, Wii. It's insane to me how the M&M's franchise is longer than some good franchises, like Sam & Max, you bastards. I'm curious to see though. Are any of them good? Like, with 10 swings, not every single one can be a miss, right? Right?
Before we drop into today's crazy video, how about you hit that subscribe button and ring that bell? You don't want to make me sad, do you? You don't want to see me when I'm sad.
The PC was home to many edutainment games. Games that more often than not disguised themselves as games when really they were just teaching you math. M&M's The Lost Formula breaks this tradition by being the only video game I've ever seen pretend to be an edutainment game. You play as Yellow, who accidentally let the insane homicidal mini M&Ms run the factory. Obviously this blows up in his face and you have to save the day by murdering minis. The game was released for PC, which feels like a weird starting point. Most licensed games took place on portable or even home consoles, so seeing as how this is on PC, surely they utilized the technology and had a reason why. M&M's The Lost Formula is a platforming game with math.
Yay, learning!
I'm gonna talk about the math zone a little later, so for right now, let's focus on the main game. The game is split up into 8 levels, each with 3 sections. 2 normal areas and a math area, with each level totaling to about 15-20 minutes. This means that in total, the game is only a little over 2 hours, meaning the game can realistically be beaten in one sitting. Is the gameplay good enough to justify the short runtime? No! So surprisingly, M&M's The Lost Formula is a Crash Bandicoot clone, and I'm not against the idea, especially since PCs at the time had no way to play something like Crash Bandicoot. So fuck it, replace all the characters with M&Ms and we have a gold mine here, right? Unfortunately, however, the game above all else is boring! From the second you boot up the game until the end, it becomes obvious there was basically no attempt to put any passion behind this, especially when you stare into Yellow's dumb fucking face and Red, who looks like he got slapped across the head with a paint can. It becomes even more obvious that this game didn't have that much effort put into it starting the first level, which for some reason is a car level. The controls kinda suck, the music is a choice, and this game looks kinda bad, but like, it's playable. All I'm left wondering when playing it is why though. Especially when you jump into the actual game, it just begs the question, who thought this was a good idea? You run around the factory collecting M&Ms, attacking enemies, and progressing through the levels, but all of it feels so soulless. However, I feel like I'm going to be saying that a lot as I go along with this list, so I'll just say, it looks okay for a PC game in the 2000s, I suppose. One of the main problems is the controls, man. Somehow this thing supports controllers, which is a blessing because I am not using the arrow keys, but everything feels so stiff. Nothing you do has any weight to it. Your jump feels both way too floaty and too heavy at the same time. Your spin attacks just barely work. It just feels bad to control. And that isn't helped by the camera. Despite the fact that it's constantly glitching out, which happens very frequently, the camera is at such an awkward position and refuses to move up or down depending on the situation, leading to hitting enemies you literally didn't see. I feel crazy because this game was kinda hard, but it never felt like it was my fault. I was constantly dying to things I couldn't see, or worse, things I didn't touch, which factoring in the one-hit respawn makes this game a nightmare to try and get through in one sitting, especially with how repetitive it feels. And what makes it all the more funny is that the math sections in this game are shit like 1 plus 0, 4 plus 2, etc. You cannot tell me that a kid who doesn't know what 1 plus 1 is will have the cognitive function to beat some of these levels. Or maybe I'm as good at video games as a 4-year-old. I would ask why this even bothers to educate, but it's obvious these were added as padding so they could market it as educational and get parents who don't know anything about video games to purchase them, thinking it'll make little Timmy grow up and be the next Beethoven. Also, this game touts itself as a non-violent adventure, but you are beating up and destroying robots left and right. This is blatant false advertising and is a terrible example to show to kids. I mean, what will you say for yourself when Jaquavius Jinkle doesn't get the Lego set they wanted, so he repeatedly kicks dad in the shins and takes control of the household? Shame on you, M&Ms. As for the positives, if there are any, the level design is fine. For a factory setting, they were mostly able to differentiate the levels pretty well, and if the controls in this game weren't completely awful, the platforming sections aren't that awfully designed either. There were a few sections I thought were pretty neat that showed they at least weren't incompetent, especially with these pretty cute cutscenes. And I will say, I do like how the crates are different types of M&Ms. It's the most shameless product placement I've ever seen, but it makes me giggle a little, so I'll excuse it. This game kinda blows and I will never return to it, but like, taking into account this is probably going to be one of the better games I play today. As a kid I could see myself still getting some fun from this, even at such a minute level. Overall, I'd probably give M&M's The Lost Formula a 3 out of 10. It's not good, but like, it's made for 3-year-olds, so whatever. M&M's Mini Madness is a Game Boy game. Look, I've said this before and I'll say it again, but I don't really like the Game Boy or NES games that much. I like 8-bit styled games, but save for a few exceptions, the way games were designed back then just does not appeal to me much. They were most usually a what you see is what you get kind of package, and unless I'm super into the gameplay structure, the repetitiveness usually scares me off. So with that being said, M&M's Mini Madness is fine. It's completely fine. If there's anything of note to mention, it's the graphics, because they actually look pretty good, especially for cash grab titles like this. Usually the designs and graphics are less than stellar. Here though, they actually made it look pretty good. I can imagine being impressed if I was a 3-year-old. However, the same cannot really be said about the gameplay. It's not that it's bad per se, it's just that it's so nothing. I think the ability to swap between the 4 colors is cool, but it feels like it was added due to the limitations of the Game Boy and not because they actually wanted it to be a feature. Because each character only has a jump and 1 move, which makes sense being that the Game Boy had 2 buttons, but it feels so forced, constantly needing to switch between characters in order to do even the easiest of platforming. It doesn't help that the platforming itself is rather dull too. There's nothing here really all that challenging, and the designs of the platforms and set pieces don't help one bit. Your jump also has this huge amount of floatiness to it, making each jump incredibly awkward. Plus, due to the limitations of the system, we can't design multiple actually in-depth levels of a world, each with unique designs. Instead, we should make them all a fucking square and have you run around in a circle looking for levers to pull. And then we do that 4 times, with the only difference being adding another lever. Oh, and also add a water level, because fuck you. Again, I don't think it's an awful game besides the weird jump and character switching thing. The gameplay is fine, the game looks okay, and there was obviously some amount of care put into it, but the repetitive nature of it just does not appeal to me one bit, even with its absurdly short run time. So I'm giving Minnie's Madness a 5 out of 10.
Well, the first
2 games.
that good, but I'm sure the next game is gonna be so much better. Isn't that right, Edward the Existentialist?
We're all gonna die someday!
I always wondered why they called you that.
Remember the Lost Formula? Remember how it being on the PC was one of the only noteworthy things about it? What if we made it look worse, removed half the content, and put it on the PlayStation? Genius move, guys. I can't believe this exists. I mean, I can. Obviously, it's a Crash Bandicoot clone. Of course, they were gonna put it on the PlayStation, but like, why? Why does it exist? Why? It's not good, and it's worse now. Why? Eminem Shell Shock gets 2 out of 10. I didn't even, it's so nothing. It's so, like, pointless. I didn't even write down anything. I just said complain about game, 2 out of 10. So yeah, it's bad. This might be one of the worst games I have ever played in my life. This is not an exaggeration. I would rather watch paint dry than play this game. In fact, playing this game is like watching paint dry, except you're repeatedly being stabbed in the face with needles. This is the most boring, tedious, boring, unfun, did I mention boring party game I have ever played. I'm not even gonna mention the visuals, which look like you threw the game into a shredder with a rainbow colored vomit. No, you wanna know what this game is like? It's Candyland. There is no strategy involved. There are virtually no paths you can choose. You sit there, roll a die, watch your character move painfully slow through a board, and collect minis. And this would be great, but you have to watch every other NPC slowly do the same cycle. And this would be great, but there are no mini games until you go through this cycle 5 times. And this would be great, but the mini games suck ass! Not a single one of them are even tolerable. They are nothing. They're even worse than the same few minigames most Mario Party ripoffs have. At least those are beatable, but this game doesn't even want to have functional minigames, instead opting to have broken AI that wins no matter what while you try and grab M&Ms that are on the other damn side of the screen. This game is the biggest load of slop I have ever seen. Passionless, dull, nothing shines through here except the greed of the company who made it. This is an embarrassment to video games, and it makes me ashamed to have to live in the same universe as it. It's wretched, awful, abysmal, abominable, worse than Bubsy 3D. These are some of the adjectives I would use to describe this fucking trash. Fuck you, Blue. I fell for your weak seduction game, and your attempts to rizz me up ended with me being destroyed mentally and physically. Ever since playing this game, I've dropped 50 pounds, I haven't left my house in months, and I look like the human equivalent of Gumby. Fuck you, Eminem's Blast. I despise your existence. 0 out of 10.
That's it! This game has finally pushed me over the edge to do what you always wanted to do!
Find the cure to mortality so I don't have to live in an existence.
No! Kill myself!
Hey, I'm your long-lost brother Axel, and I've come bearing a game.
Wow, Axel. That's a stupid name.
Hey, I named myself this.
Wow, you named yourself after a car part dude.
Anyways, take this.
What? A game that will help me find a new appreciation for life? A game that'll make me finally enjoy games again?
No, I wanted to finish the job quicker. M&M's Breakum is a puzzle game created by Destination Software, or DSI Games. If you're a true epic gamer like myself, those words should scare you. DSI Games were a staple of abysmal DS licensed shovelware, publishing such classics as Betty Boop's Double Shift, Chicken Shoot, Snood, Polly Pocket, among others. So seeing this, I was incredibly worried. But popping in the game, I found out it was kind of fun. Now, it's no fucking Metal Gear Solid, but for a turn your brain off kind of game, it's a decent little time. Starting with the art style, it's clear immediately this had way more passion poured into it. The characters look really good with expressive animations throughout, plus there's a story with unique characters in an M&M's game. I can't wait for the MCU, the M&M's Cinematic Universe, which will inevitably end with M&M's and York Patties fighting fucking Reese's Pieces. It's not much, but it helps set this game apart from the others nicely so far, especially after M&M's Blast. The gameplay isn't too bad either. It's nothing very challenging or thought-provoking, just trying to clear the colored blocks on a stage with a constantly moving M&M, but it has just enough challenge with the insta-death blocks, which makes it to where you can't just turn your brain off completely. I like some of these levels, and them constantly adding new obstacles made the game stop from feeling repetitive. Another thing too is the boss battles? Yeah, this game has boss battles, which is surprising for both an M&M game and a puzzle game. They're nothing too crazy, they're pretty simple and occasionally drag on for too long, but it's just a nice surprise that leaves something to look forward to, you know? Gives each stage a nice little ending without feeling like we're just rushing along different areas. Speaking of the areas, I think they all look really nice from one another. They have fun little details to them and to make them feel unique, which is a detail I appreciate after the past few have been pretty... Overall, I'm pretty impressed, M&M's Breakum. You're nothing spectacular, but you're the first game today I could say I had an okay time with. And that alone nets you some extra points. Enough so to where I can look over the highly detailed M&M bags, you corporate motherfuckers. Congrats, you get a 6 out of 10. This game was also released on the DS, but it looks exactly the same as the GBA one, but the touchscreen makes me scared it's gonna have motion controls. I have not played it, and I kinda refuse to, so take that as you will. Once in a generation, we get a true artist. Bach, Shakespeare, Mozart, Picasso, and now, M&M's Kart Racing. M&M's Kart Racing is a kart racer created by Frontline Studios and published by DSI Games. Well, the last game wasn't bad and it was published by them, so how bad could it be? However, due to my unfortunate living situations, my Wii is in a storage unit, so I had to map the motion controls to a control stick. So I'm sorry that I didn't get the full M&M's Kart Racing experience, but even with the fact I kinda cheated and mapped my control stick to motion controls, this game might be one of the worst designed kart racers I've ever played, and I beat this game. The levels are designed so cramped, dude. You have to literally stop moving, slowly turn right or left, and accelerate for some of these. Plus, there's literally fake out turns that get your cart stuck, which requires you to stop moving, slowly turn right or left, and then accelerate. When you're not fighting the controls or maps too, this game is incredibly boring, which seems to be a pattern for a lot of these. The NPCs are piss easy and are easily beatable until the final level where they became fucking insanely difficult. I would say it's as if nobody even playtested it, but seeing as how one of the games this company designed is the aforementioned Chicken Shoot, they probably didn't. This game also looks awful. The first game, The Lost Formula, from almost 10 years before this, looks 100 times better. The color palette on this game is just these really muddy and dirty browns, yellows, oranges, leading it to genuinely look like shit. And this isn't even helped by these abominable character models. Half of the NPCs you race aren't even M&Ms, dude.
Who the fuck fuck are you?
It's very clear to me almost no effort was put into this. The controls suck even with me mapping them to a normal controller, and I'm sure on a Wiimote they're a lot worse. There's almost no content in this game, being beaten in 25 minutes, and they couldn't even get the name of the game right on the loading screen. Half the game is spent on these things, man. Why does this game need to load so much? These races are fucking 40 seconds long! If I had any positives, I mean, it's over quick. It's funny to laugh at how bad it is. I don't know. I find it hard to defend something that feels worse to experience than some CIA torture techniques. Like, yeah, sure, I'll listen to Disturbed for 48 hours over the legal decibel limit. Bring it on. Overall, this game is an embarrassment, and the fact that it's not even the worst M&M game I've played today makes me genuinely depressed. I'm giving Eminem's Kart Racing a 1 out of 10. And all this leaves me with just one question.
Do you think there's Eminem's racism?
Ooh, we aren't done yet, because there's a DS port, baby. We're entering big boy territory. Why does this exist? Why do any of these games exist? Money? I'm sure these weren't flying off the shelves. Brand promotion? I think anyone with the brain power to be affected by these to the point they want to buy M&Ms is smart enough to not buy the game to begin with. They certainly weren't trying to make a good games, cause this sure as hell ain't. So there's at least more to talk about here, so that's a plus. Even just opening the game, I mean, it's still not great. It still uses the wrong title, but it looks at least someone put an ounce of effort into it, which is a bonus. Maybe this won't be complete trash. So get this. In order to move left and right in this racing game, you have to hold down one direction, wait till your car is aiming that direction, then let go, and then your car turns. What the fuck is this system? This might be the stupidest control scheme I've ever seen for a kart racer. You'd assume they would just play it safe, you know? Make the left D-pad, move the car left, the right D-pad, move it right, but no, they decide they want to be extra and quirky. I guess having a car with higher handling stats does fix this a bit, but then you're sacrificing speed, allowing the carts to gain up on you, making it a lose-lose situation. This control scheme is so awful that on some levels I couldn't even see what was in front of me, causing me to die because I was still trying to turn right! And even outside of this control scheme, dude, what are these map designs? They have the complete opposite problem of the Wii version and are way too long and open. They feel so empty with mostly straight lines, save for the occasional super tight turn and weird objects that don't hurt you but look like they might hurt you. It baffles me how the same developer could manage to make the same game twice and completely opposite problems. If there's anything I can give this game over the original, it's that it looks slightly better, which I think says more about its Wii counterpart than the DS game. The progression feels a tad bit natural, and you don't have an orange fuck saying, "We're breaking the sound barrier" every 5 minutes. So, all in all, Eminem's Kart Racing gets a 1.5 out of 10. And it frustrates me too. For some reason, I went into this game hoping for it to be better than the Wii one. I don't know why I did, but I really like to give things the benefit of the doubt, you know? But I'm just like, how? You made the same exact game twice in a row on completely different consoles with completely different problems. How? It's no wonder that this was one of the last games they ever made.
Why must you defile me, Eminem's Kart Racing? I need a break from the stress. I need to go on an adventure. I need some fresh air, dude. Feels so good. Oh, thank God. It was all a dream. I never played any of those M&M games. I'm so relieved.
M&M's Adventure is the last M&M's platforming game being released for the Wii and DS. You know, it's their last one. Sure, they probably didn't expect to be cut off after one more game, but maybe with this being their last platforming game, maybe they'll actually go out with a bang, have like an amazing platforming game. Oh, how low we have gone. Would I sound insane to say this game is one of the best games I've played today? Would I also sound insane to say it's a piece of shit? So M&M's Adventure, nearing the end of the M&M's Media franchise, decided, what if we made an open world platformer? I didn't know it was that until I loaded it up, so suffice to say, I was genuinely excited. Maybe this will actually be good. Maybe they will have a last win before the final games. Maybe this is an underrated classic. I don't know how they do it, but the controls for these games have gotten worse each game. I miss when we just had a clone of Crash Bandicoot, dude. You walk around with these weird pseudo-tank controls where your character only walks in the direction he's facing, but he takes hours to turn, completely making you have to basically stop in place every time you want to turn. It makes even the littlest of jumps extremely frustrating because by the time you're finally ready to make the jump, you'll push the thumbstick a little bit off and he'll jump on the opposite side of the map instead and end up in fucking Peru. This also isn't helped by the abysmal camera. I have not seen a game with this bad of a camera in a long time. It shakes and jitters around constantly, leading to you getting super disorientated and missing your jumps even more. However, I can't fault ambition. It's really nice seeing them try to tackle an open world even if it kinda falls flat on its face. The problem is that even after all the controls, the platforming itself is just not good. The level design is all over the place with platforms and enemies and gizmos placed seemingly at random with little to no cohesion, especially how you get through the world. The rooms barely feel like they connect. I always think I'm going backwards or I'm missing items, etc., and not having any sort of map does not help this problem at all. And what makes it even worse is you have to find 120 M&Ms to beat the game. And there's only like 1 to 2 in each room on average. Again, I appreciate them want to go on this super ambitious open world 3D collectathon, but the budget and resources were not there. The game even just looks gross. You can tell that at this point barely anyone on the team gave a shit anymore. There's nothing that makes sense, nothing that fits with the M&M theme. But even then, what M&M theme is there? They're candies. At least Ronald McDonald had some type of world he lived in before they started making games about them. The only thing you have to base an M&M's game off of is the characters from the ads. I guess some games have the consistent theme of a factory, but why am I supposed to care about a game whose characters have only one defining trait, and that's being snarky, dumb, sexy, or a scared piece of chocolate? I get wanting to advertise your product, and I get wanting to make money doing it, but would it have been so hard to at least set up some type of setting for the M&Ms before making a bunch of directionless slop? Because that's what most of it is. For as boring as the Lost Formulas was, it at least was trying to set up something with these characters beyond M&M, but he drive car goes vroom vroom. Oh no, I drove the car into the homeless shelter. Everyone is dead. There's nothing to care about here because they haven't given me anything to care about. They're the epitome, the example of a soulless cash grab. So even if Adventures is slightly better than the others were so below the bar that the fact this game is even attempting to cross it shouldn't be praised. It's not ambitious. Its only noteworthy topic is that it's trying to be an actual game. M&M's Adventures and most of these other games are the definition of soulless slop. The definition, awesome. Nothing of substance, meant only to capitalize off of stupid children and stupider adults. M&M's Adventures is getting a 2.5 out of 10.
Man, I'm getting so sick of this. I expected good games, and all I'm getting is garbage. Whatever, just go to the next game.
Well, we're at the last DS game. Let's see how they take the idea of Eminem's adventures, stick it on a portable system, and somehow make it worse. Wait. What? No. This can't. It's the same exact game? So you're telling me that the Wii version is literally just an upscaled version of a DS game? I'm impressed that the DS can run this thing, but like, wow. I mean, it gets the same scores, somehow just removing the camera controls, and that's the same experience as having them, which is so cool. But other than that, it's the same game. I can't. Wow. On to the last console game. Let's see if they at least go out on a bang. Guys, I have bad news. Eminem's beach party isn't good. I know I've greatly disappointed the Eminem's beach party community, and I hope they can accept my apology. I've handwritten and sent it to the Eminem's beach party community frat house. I hope they can accept me back onto r/Eminem's beach party soon. Here on Eminem's Island, you'll find such exquisite games like skee ball, except you throw like an 80-year-old, ring toss, but no matter how you waggle the Wii remote, it's never the correct throw, and a bunch of other games that don't work. This game also looks abysmal. It's so bad. It makes me miss Eminem's Kart. Well, actually, no, that one was probably worse, but this one's still really bad. It's also soulless. It has no creativity at all, simply trying to be Wii Sports. But this is art. This is what unites us together. Gamers, gamer watchers, all of us. A circle of hands held together, collectively in agreement.
Adesso si vivrò con te.
Man, I just don't get it. Why don't I like the Eminem games? Sure, they're corporate shit shows, but I used to like those. What happened?
Daegon, it's okay.
Oh my god. You can talk?
Yes, and the answer is within you. All this time you've been trying to fight corporate greed when maybe the answer all along was to accept it.
Oh my god! I get it now! All this time, I shouldn't be fighting corporations. I should be joining them! Yeah! I finally get it! I finally get it! Oh my god! I finally get it! I finally get it! I finally get it!
Yeah,